Yo, what's good, Spirit Squad? Today we're actually going to slide over into Standard Land because of a few reasons. First, the new regional championship season is standard, so if you're interested in playing RCQs, get used to it being standard. There's going to be a lot of this format played. Also, this format doesn't suck, like it's actually surprisingly cool. So, being that it is a standard format, it does mean that the top of the meta is going to be relatively condensed. And this is a good spot for decks like Control because you know what you are actively trying to control. Thanks to sites like Goldfish, MTG Meta, IO, stuff like that, MTG Top 8, we actually do know what most people are going to be playing in this format. And to answer the question of what is the format doing, we're playing against things like 5-color Domain that wants to resolve Atraxa at the highest end. We're playing against things like Mono Red Aggro that plays cards like Phoenix Chick and whatever the 4-drop is that says damage sources go to 4 instead of being whatever they started as. So that card's really powerful out of that deck. We're playing against things like Blue White Soldiers, which is the other deck that I was considering for playing in this standard season. We're playing against things like Bant Toxic, which is just a relatively aggressive Bant deck that, well, uses the Toxic mechanic. It's exactly what it sounds like. And one of the very coolest decks that I've seen in a while is actually Esper Mentor, which is trying to play a lot like those really old modern decks did, where you would play cards like Monastery Mentor with a bunch of cantrips instead of getting to play things like Preordained, Serum Visions. Here you play cards like Consider, Opt, and Sleight of Hand, all of which are legal in this format. And instead of getting to play the card Unearth, because that does not exist in Standard, you're instead playing Helping Hand, which is essentially the exact same card, except it doesn't have cycling for 2, and it's white instead of black. But all in all, the Esper Mentor deck is pretty cool. And because we know what decks exist at the top of Standard, we know how to effectively, hopefully, construct a control deck to kind of play around all of those things. And this is the list that I've arrived at. So we're going to be playing 27 lands, which is relatively normal for a standard control deck. Remember, again, you're not playing a bunch of cantrips, so you don't really get to get away with the shenanigans in like Modern, where you're going to be playing a control deck, but with like 24 lands, because you get to play cards like Wrenn and 6. That's not a thing here. And you're certainly not doing anything like Legacy, where your control decks have 19 lands because you're playing cards like Ponder, Brainstorm, Fetch lands. That's also not going to happen here. So we're playing 27 lands, and I think the mana base is surprisingly cool. We get to play with a bunch of creature type lands too. So we get to play with 4 copies of Restless Anchorage, which is a fine card for a deck like Control. You get to, you know, have some attacking against planeswalkers. A 2/3 blocker is not irrelevant against a lot of the more aggressive threats of the format. And every now and then a map token can draw you a land drop and help keep it going, right? Like, it's not even bad. The other 2 are going to be copies of Mirix, which is probably the most common non-basic land in Standard. I don't know, this card's really fucking good. You get to make mana on your first turn that you do it, so if you need double white or double blue for something, great, there it is. But also on turns where you don't have to tap out or respond to something, you can just make a Phyrexian Might. All around, pretty good stuff. We'll also be playing 4 copies of Field of Ruin. So I'm not going to get cute with Field of Ruin and Sunken Citadel, or whatever that card is that taps for 2 to activate aces on lands. We're just going to be playing Field of Ruin, regular, honest, normal. And we're only be playing 6 basic. We're playing 4 copies of Basic Island and 2 copies of Basic Plain. We're also going to have a bunch of other decent lands too. Like Deserted Beach is great when it comes into play untapped a little later. Seachrome Coast is great when you want to have things come untapped early. And the reason I'm playing Seachrome Coast in this deck is because we are playing some 1-drops, even if they're not cantrips. We're playing 3 copies of Spell Pierce and 2 copies of Elspeth's Smite in the main, so that we can have some relatively low-cost interaction. And by the time we want to start doing our more expensive stuff, you'll be really happy to have things like turn 4, for example, where you can like quick study plus 1 of these. So we do want to have some low-cost interaction to keep up with what the faster decks are doing. We also have 1 copy of Otawara, 2 copies of Iganjo. There's our utility. And honestly, that's just a mana base. I think this is a pretty sweet, solid mana base that has enough lands to do the thing and the right lands to do the thing. I'm kind of a fan of all 4 of these Field of Ruins. There are a lot of Mirixes in the format, and most decks have access to at least one creature land. So I do think that the Field of Ruin is in a pretty good spot right now. As for the things that are actually in the deck, we've got some decent amount of counterspells. We're playing 9 of them. We're going to be playing 4 copies of Make Disappear, 2 Negates, and 3 Spell Pierces. So we have a lot of things to do really well against creatures. So I'm not going to be trying to play cards like Scatter Ray, no super cute stuff like Essence Capture, or 3 mana counterspells like Dissipate. We're just going to be playing the 1 and 2 mana counterspells here so that we can just focus more on beating the creatures of the format, which are really going to be the important part. And to that end, we have a lot of stuff. We've got 2 copies of Elspeth's Smite, as already mentioned, all 4 copies of Get Lost here, and there are a lot of options for cards you could be playing instead of Get Lost. You can play cards like Fateful Absence, you can play cards like March of Otherworldly Light, and I'm positive there's at least 3 other options I'm forgetting right now. But I don't care about any of those because we're going to be playing Get Lost. We've been playing 3 copies of the Wandering Emperor, which is going to be pretty sweet against things that are just, you know, regular, normal, trying to attack you. Wandering Emperor is a legacy playable card, so we're definitely going to play it in Standard. And 2 copies of Sunfall as well. This is easily the best sweeper in Standard, if you ask me. This card's incredibly powerful, and even when you only get like an incubator that becomes a 1/1 or a 2/2, that's still a lot of advantage from a thing that you already played to exile your opponent's stuff. Like, this card is really good even when it only makes a 1/1. And then 4 copies of Horned Lockwhale, and this is a card that I've been a really big fan of. I've been trying to find reasons to play Standard just so that I could play with this card, and we are finally there in Standard Land. To kind of glue it all together here, we've got 4 copies of Quick Study and 2 copies of Memory Deluge, and these will help continue to ensure that we can do things like hitting land drops, finding our relevant counter spells or creature removal spells, and especially Quick Study pairs up really well with Teferi Temporal Pilgrim, and this is going to be one of my favorite finishers for this kind of archetype. So a 5 mana sorcery speed planeswalker in a format that has a lot of fairly aggressive decks is not necessarily the cleanest look, but that's your job as the pilot to like make time to play something like a Teferi. Anyway, this card's really good. So never mind the -12, that may as well not exist. We do not care about that. Whenever you draw a card, you can put a loyalty counter on Teferi, and the tokens he actually makes with a -2. You get a -2/2 blue spirit creature token, and of course we just had to find something that says spirit to jam in here. It's got vigilance, and whenever you draw a card, put a +1 counter on it, and that pairs well with either the 0 from Teferi, your natural draw step, or Quick Study. Any of those things will pump both Teferi and his tokens. So that'll be something that's really sweet to know. And now we get to move over to our sideboard, and our sideboard is something that I actually think I'm kind of proud of. So we've got the other 2 copies of Elspeth's Smite chilling in the sideboard here, so that we've got all 4 against things like, say, Bant Toxic, Mono Red, any of those style of decks that are just trying to attack you really quickly. We've got 3 copies of Disdainful Stroke that are primarily going to be for 5-color domain, but they do have a lot of text against other control style decks as well. There are also some mid-range decks out there that like to play a bunch of 4 and 5 drops, so if we run across those, Stroke will also be pretty sweet there. 3 copies of Denic Pious Apprentice do 2 things for us. First, the clause where cards in graveyards can't be the target to spells or abilities, that is not irrelevant in today's Standard. That does stop the blue-white or Esper Mentor decks from being able to cast cards like Recommission or Helping Hand, so not being able to revive their creatures is going to be pretty sweet. It also stops Halo Forager from even getting to do the Snapcaster Mage impression that it likes to do. So that's one thing. Another thing is that a 2/3 blocker with lifelink is incredibly good against a lot of decks right now. So if you find your opponents playing something like blue-white soldiers, Bant Toxic, Mono Red, a 2/3 lifelinker for 2 is really good against all of those things. We've got 2 copies of Unlicensed Hearse. This will also help to play ball against the Esper Mentor deck, but just in case we run against a mono blue tempo list, Unlicensed Hearse is really good there as well. We've got 2 copies of Cemetery Illuminator, and this sounds like I might be leaning really hard into Graveyard Hate, but Cemetery Illuminator is actually not there for Graveyard Hate, if that makes any sense. It's actually there against the slower decks. Like, say we play against a control mirror or something similar, right? I wanted a way to kind of pressure things like planeswalkers and life totals while also guaranteeing that we have some real sense of card advantage along the way. So if you get a Cemetery Illuminator that, like, you know, attacks for 4 to 6 points and casts something like a negate or a spell pierce off the top of the deck, well, that's already feeling pretty good, right? And that's kind of where I wanted to live there. We've got 2 copies of Tachana's Tidebinder in the board, and this is going to be primarily for things like the 5-color domain deck, where they're playing things like Atraxa. You don't really want those triggers to do anything. They're playing Invasion of Zendikar, and you don't want them to be able to fish out their lands. So this thing's got a few jobs against that deck, and there's a few other decks that play a bunch of different like artifacts that have activated card effects. Decks like, well, the Control Mirrors, where you're facing down things like Wandering Emperors and or Teferis and stuff. And there's even Field of Ruins in the deck, in the format, where if you Tidebinder your opponent's Field of Ruin, well, not only are they down a land, they're also not getting rid of yours. And then the last thing here is going to be a copy of Hullbreaker Horror, which is going to be the mirror breaker, haha, against things like other control decks and slower style decks. So this is going to be the 15-card sideboard, and I'm pretty excited for seeing where this goes. So this is an archetype that I actually do like playing, believe it or not. I was a control mage for a pretty long time before ever picking up spirits. But that's, once again, enough rambling about the sideboard and everything. Let's get into some gameplay. I'll see y'all on the ladder.
Today's video brought to you by FusionGamingOnline.com, your one-stop shop for all your gaming needs.
All right, so first round of gameplay, we are on the play against Herc. All right, Hercules. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and play the basic island here in case I actually want to cast this Spell Pierce anytime soon. And this says that we might be playing against something like a mono red list, so I'm actually just going to play the Otawara here instead of one of my Deserted Beaches tapped, because I want to give myself room to use my Horned Lock Whale in case of like a haste creature. If they play like, I don't know, a Bloodthirsty Adversary or whatever the other 2-drop is, that one, then I can at least do this, put it on top of their deck, tell our opponent to go fuck themselves, and untap with Spell Pierce and get lost. Ooh, that is also good for next turn. There's a squee. When you attack, you get a Munchkin tapped and attacking. Let's not let that happen. So they do get map tokens, which is a big deal for later, but I now have a Wandering Emperor, so it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's still relevant. Okay, there's your Feldon. That will resolve. And now you can put a map token on it. Hopefully you don't draw land. I feel like I specifically asked for that to not happen, but okay. So I guess hopefully this time you don't draw land. Boo, your mother. All right, still gonna exile it. Yeah. Field of Ruin against the Factory is actually gonna feel really good. So let's, do I just make a token here? Exiling 4 other cards. They only have the 2 cards in the graveyard. It might actually just be right to make a soldier here. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna make a soldier. Okay, there's the other Factory. Foundry. Don't particularly care about that. I can, if they don't do something I care about here, I can just like Deluge, potentially Spell Pierce something. That's fine, I can just block that. Yeah. So this is gonna make the Feldon a 3/3 with the Wicked Roll token, sure. Not a huge fan of that, but it is what it is. Oh no, it's doing itself. Okay. That means I'm actually gonna Deluge and see if I can draw an Elspeth Smite. No, we can't. Okay. So instead, I'll just take the Make Disappear into Deserted Beach, and I will block here. I'll take the 2, go down to 18, or 17, right? So we have a choice here. I can play the Anchorage. Yeah, that's not a choice. I was going to say I can play the Anchorage, hold off on Horned Lock Whale for a turn, and instead give myself the ability to use Make Disappear plus Field of Ruin, or I could have like played Deserted Beach instead and just like allowed all that to happen. So this is fine by me, actually. Okay, so now I am going to do this. They get a land, I get a land. I want a white land. I have enough blue, I believe. So I take the 2, I go down to 15, and now let's see what they want to come at me with. Charming Scoundrel, that's just gonna happen. All right, you got it. And we're just gonna untap. So a thing to know about Horned Lock Whale is, since this is my turn, this will actually just come into play untapped. So now I've got a 6/6 with Ward 2, and I don't know, good luck, I guess. Okay, that's gonna happen. So I take the 1, go to 14, exile that many. So okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and block here, take the 2, go down to 12. So now I paid a 2, and now I get to Spell Pierce it. So none of that happens. I take a total of 3, go down to 11, and I've still got a 6/6 blocker. Sick. So I'm gonna just play my Seachrome Coast and get ready to pass, remembering that I do have access to a 2/3 blocker in my Restless Anchorage too. So if they want to, I don't know, squee, whatever, and it looks like that is in fact what's gonna happen. Okay, you got it. Okay, so is this next turn? Until the end of your next turn. Okay. So now I'm going to put the giant blocker into play. Not actually giant, but I suppose giant by their standards. I'm also going to get to use my Spell Pierce, which feels great. And now I am going to go ahead and block like this. So remember that this, you don't want to block with your biggest blocker, because if I block with this 6/6, they're going to get to look at 6 cards instead of just 2. So we're going to block like this. Take the 1, go to 10. Both of their creatures suck. They do get to effectively draw 2, but even if they do that, I still have this Make Disappear in hand, and I will in fact cast it. All right, so now we have, I believe, successfully navigated most of this bullshit as water. I want Elspeth's Smite and Negate, or do I want Get Lost more? I could also just take the Teferi and just like kind of get the game over with. I actually think that feels better. So I'm going to do that, play the island, attack for 6, knowing that I have the intent to get rid of the Mishra's Foundry with, oh, another Foundry. That's actually a pretty good draw step. Oh, they have a fucking just enough cards to do this too? They do have just enough cards to do that too. Okay. Well, I guess I'll be glad for this Smite. Holy shit. Okay. I guess attacking with the Lockwill was a mistake. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this, and now it's finally exiled, but I still take 6 and go to 4. Yikes. Where's that Anchorage? There it is. Okay, had to make sure the Anchorage wasn't gonna, like, you know, do something stupid, right? So here I get to blow up a Foundry, block some stuff. Okay, I can see a universe where we actually get out of this. Them drawing a land certainly helps. Okay, so now how can I get out of this? I can Anchorage up, block, 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 take 2. Yeah, let's do that. I am exactly 1 mana short of being able to both Field of Ruin and Restless Anchorage, so I guess that's annoying. And I would much rather do this than go to 1 for any reason. Yeah. Okay. And okay, I'm gonna do this, keep the big one, and I will... I think I'm supposed to just make another 2/2. The 2/2s have vigilance and stuff, so like I think this is fine. I can still activate the Restless Anchorage if they draw a haste creature. So if this isn't like a play with fire, a Phoenix Chick. That's fine. I have a Restless Anchorage, I can beat a Phoenix Chick. This thing also can't block, right? Yeah. Oh, that's not good. Okay. So now I get to cards up, okay. Draw a card. Remembering that my tokens do have vigilance, so I'm not super worried. Oh wait, duh. I just have lethal. What the fuck am I talking about? Because they're 4/4s now. I was thinking that they were only 3/3s, but I forgot about the natural draw step counting. So now they do that. They take this. They go down to 2. I can play another Field of Ruin, and I am once again hoping to God that another Sunfall. I don't particularly want that. So don't have a play with fire. A Phoenix Chick, you can have that. I will go to 1. I'm like quintuple checking to make sure there's like nothing I'm missing about this here. All right, get some attacks in. All right, so relatively scary game 1 against Mono Red. Landing at 1 is always super scary. So I'm going to bring in my Lifelinkers, bring in my extra removal, and I'm also going to bring in the 2/3 flyers. So the fact that they have flying isn't really the relevant part here. The fact that they are a 2/3 body super is. So I'm going to take out the Deluges, take out the Quick Studies, and I'm also going to... Wait. I'm going to take out the Teferis. What am I doing? I'm putting in more win conditions. But I'm still going to take out 2 of the Quick Studies. So the downside of this is that since I don't have Quick Study or Deluge in super high numbers in this deck anymore, it does mean that I might stumble on hitting like a 4th or a 5th land drop. But in exchange, I get to play a lot more of the stuff that's naturally good against red decks, like extra Elspeth Smites. And I think that's a comfortable enough place for me to be. And I drew the 3rd land anyway, so we're still mostly okay for right now. There's a Feldon, okay. And I am going to Elspeth Smite it. It does damage, so they still get to do the 3 cards thing. Okay. Oh, that's actually pretty good for me. What were the exile cards? Lightning Strike. Okay, so I'm just gonna not expose Dennick to a Lightning Strike. Instead, I'll just counterspell like Squee if that's what they want to cast here. Yeah, and they've got quite a bit of ways to go if they want before they can actually do like the Squee stuff. So I'll take my 2 here, and I'll just like resolve Dennick and keep up Spell Pierce. And they can't cast this anymore, so now they actually have to like, I don't know, do something else, I guess. Phoenix Chick happens. No! Play with fire. Well, this is fine because I'm just going to counterspell the next thing anyway. So if they want to just attack with this, oh, sick. I actually get to use my Spell Pierce. That feels good. So now I'm definitely just like not blocking anything. I'm just going to let this happen. Yeah, that's whatever. And I have now established my life linker. So I'm going to just do this, attack for my 2, and start being able to defend myself with stuff like Hornlock Whale, Get Lost, stuff like that. So that'll feel pretty decent too. Okay, we do make another land drop here. A Charming Scoundrel is gonna happen. That's kind of whatever. So they could put a Wicked token on the Phoenix Chick, I guess. Yeah, okay, that is their plan. That's surprisingly fine. So now what? I get to get lost on the land, or I can get lost on the etching. I'm gonna get lost on the etching, and Horned Lockwell can do the thing here. So if they want to put the land on top of their deck, they can do that. Remember that the map tokens cannot be used at instant speed. They must have just put it at the bottom anyway. They did. Okay, that's fine. So I'm gonna do this. So we're gonna go back up to 15, and I guess my intent here is gonna be to just make a token, which I suppose is fine. So now you can map token over here starting on this turn. It is what it is. There's a Lightning Strike. That'll be relevant against Dennick. And if they want to make it a 4/4, then I guess so be it. So I take 5, I go to 10, I make a token, and I untap and what, draw negate maybe? No, Field of Ruin, okay. So that means I'll be attacking with these 2 because it's not like I can block. And I'm just going to put this into play as a huge ass blocker here. So now if they want to just like Lightning Strike the Dennick, and then immediately attack me for 4, I go down to 8. This isn't attacking anytime soon. And then I can next turn do this. I think I'm okay with that ish. I still got to deal with the Phoenix Chick, but like if that's the biggest problem in the world, I think I'm okay. They are doing this so that they can revive Squee with it, but they already can revive Squee next turn anyway, so this doesn't change anything. Instead, I just get a free block. Hell yeah. That is... Oh, baby, that was almost best case. All right, fuck out of here. Right. Next. GG's. Okay, we're in our second round of gameplay here, and this one is a little sketchier, but I think I'm actually gonna keep this on the draw. Like, I've got a counterspell, a couple of ways to respond to creatures, which will be very necessary soon, and I've got an eventual way to deal with stuff provided I can actually get there, and Quick Study will help us to get there in theory. Honestly, great choice of mountain by the opponent. All right, so there's a Phoenix Chick, so that's how we're going to start off here. That's going to be a 2/2, and a Swiss Beer, so lots of annoying hasty friends. Unfortunate, sucks to be us, etc., crying, screaming, spitting. So now they get to do the etchings, and this opponent's getting off to a really sick start, especially with them being on the play. There's a Godric, which is really annoying. Oh crap, I didn't have to let that resolve. Whoops. Oh well. Well, that was bad, we feel bad, etc. So I do this, take 5, go to 11, yikes. And did they put that at the bottom? They did, okay. And we don't have another land, so I'm probably dying. Charming Scoundrel, ugh. I legitimately think I'm not supposed to let that resolve. That thing's responsible for a lot of damage. Okay, so we're at 6. Can we draw a white land? No, we can't draw any land. Okay, unfortunate. But can't be too mad. That's kind of the entire mono red thing, is that if you stumble, that's your ass. And we stumbled, so that was our ass. Is that what I did last time? It is now. All right. So this time we'll play first, and our hand is a lot less sketchy. Cool, good stuff. So this time I'm going to start off with the Aggro here, and this will play around like a Phoenix Chick or something else that has haste because of my Elspeth Smite. Doesn't quite fit the bill, but still not bad. And Cemetery Illuminator will actually be a pretty decent way to both set up some offense and defense here. So I'm actually not super sad about seeing this. I'm not going to let that one happen. That card's really good. So here I'm just going to jam. And let's get rid of this, I guess. Okay, so there's the etchings, and there's a Phoenix Chick, okay. And now let's hope for not Lightning Strike at my Illuminator. And it looks like I'm not going to get my wish. Well, I guess it wasn't a Lightning Strike. Okay, so this is actually fine-ish. I take 3, I go down to 16. I make my land drop, the one that comes into play tapped, and I still have both Elspeth Smite and a Hornlock Will at the ready. So all things considered, this is fine. That is completely okay. They put it at the top, which is less okay. Yep, okay. And a Kamano, which I guess is okay. So I want to deny the graveyard card, and you, I believe, have the least amount of upside if I allow you to attack again. And where did that go? That also went to the bottom. Understood. So now I get to do this, put that in play, and I have just like another Lockwell. Sekenzen is whatever. I will use my whale here. Not exactly the happiest about not having like any additional counter spells or anything else to do with it, but if I can like come really close to running them out of threats, then I'm pretty happy. And I'm just gonna like start jamming 6/6s down their throat now. Okay, I take that, I go to 8, and now this is very, very much their problem. If they play a Godic, I guess it can still attack. But yeah, I'm just gonna start attacking now. Here's another 6/6. I take that, go down to 6, and you can scry. Perfect. All right, so now we get to go into a game 3 and effectively try the same plan again. Much less cute stuff, much more dead opponents. Of note, do I want Tidebinders instead of Teferis? I think the answer might be yes. Okay, so upside, our hand is relatively playable here. Downside is we're on the draw, so I don't know, good luck us, I guess. Elspeth Smite is actually pretty good. There's another Swift Spear, not doing much about that. And I actually do think I'm going to take 2 if that's all they're doing here. Okay, so now what do I want? I want to hold up Smite plus Spell Pierce. All right. I guess conversely, a copy of Get Lost. Urbrask's Forge. Okay. And much, much, much less okay. All right. One of you can also get fucked. All right, but I will take 2 from the other Swift Spear. Insert Taylor Swift joke here. And now I'm going to just play my Deserted Beach, because this gives me the option to cast one of these or to simply use Iganjo depending on what my opponent wants to do here. Squee. They only have the 1 card. I will cast a Make Disappear on Squee. So this is actually not even that bad, right? Like if we manage to draw a copy of that is obnoxious. If we manage to draw a copy of also very good, but that's not the card I was trying to name. Is there any reason to do anything other than that? I believe the answer is no. So I will simply plan on doing that. That's a good draw for them. No pump spells, okay. So now we're gonna Wanderer. Yes, you can aim a spell over there. I'm still gonna kill the stupid Spear. All right, so I go up to 12 and then down to 11. We trade that for my Wanderer, and now I'm pretty happy about where things are going, right? Like I get to untap, I play a land, I've got the choice between Iganjo or Get Lost for whatever the next threat is, and there's only 4 cards in the graveyard, so we're not quite at Squee land either. All of those things make me a relatively happy Dre, especially if I get to what does that do? Monstrous Rage or Lightning Strike? Sure. Wait, this is fine. because that actually takes a card out of their graveyard if they want to use that ability. So if it's Lightning Strike, then I'll just respond with a Get Lost. If it is Monstrous Rage, they are casting the Lightning Strike at my face. Sure. Oh, wait a minute. I think this is the one that I actually should Iganjo. Yeah. This is the one that I should Iganjo. Because this way, if they decide to squee, I can get lost on the squee before it gets to trigger. But if I do it the other way around, then I don't get to do that. So I'm just going to do this and 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. I still get to hold up my stuff. Phoenix Chick is annoying, but I care a lot less about that than I do about this Mishra's Foundry. So I'm going to do this. Take the 1, go to 8, main phase 2. They can use this, but even still, that makes it smaller than my Restless Anchorage, even if they find something. That sucks. That sucks less. That works in my favor. So what I get to do here is hold up Restless Anchorage to block the Phoenix Chick. They Lightning Strike the Restless Anchorage. I respond by casting Get Lost. Or I just get to do what the fuck I want. Are you opponent? What? I mean, yeah, I'm going to 5. That sucks. But like, if this just finds a land, and it does, then we are super free right now. Oh, I can't believe you actually did that. Okay. So now I get to untap and do this plus explore onto it. Wandering Emperor can definitely stay, and now I've got a 3/4 lifelinker, so good luck. Even if you squee, I get to do the thing before combat starts. So yeah, now we've just won the match. Sick. All right, well, a nice little 2-0 over 2 red decks. Let's keep it going. Okay, third and final round of the day, and I'm gonna keep this hand on the draw. So we've got some low-cost interaction, which I'm a fan of. We also have enough lands to do the thing, including casting Quick Study, so that's nice. And I don't know whether this means that we're playing in a mirror match. That is a really, really good choice of basics. Like, I'm almost mad at how cool that is. Anyway, here, if they want to Field of Ruin my Anchorage, I'll just like cast Quick Study and have Spell Pierce mana, or I could not do that. Let me rethink that. All right, so what happens here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, down to 6, up to 8, and then I have to discard. Okay, so we're not going to do that. Instead, I'll just let them eat it, and then we just get a land and call this shit a day. Yeah, there's no reason to do that. Okay. I have no reason to do that either, so I'm just going to untap. So I was thinking about just casting the Quick Study for the sake of getting a counterspell out of their hand, but if I do it like this now, well, that was pretty fucking great for me. I was going to say, but now I'm having like a real reason to cast something and potentially play around a copy or play into a land that gets me something like a Teferi down the road. So here I am, instead of using Field of Ruin, just going to try to hit my land drops. Wandering Emperor is pretty good for them. Oh, tapped. Come on, you're killing me. All right. So upside, I at least get to get rid of this nonsense, but like, man, tap land sucked. They're making another soldier. I think that's a pretty good choice. All right, so I will go ahead and Elspeth Smite this, seeing as it doesn't really have too many other targets anyway. And I will also Field of Ruin on their Anchorage. So if they want to respond by like casting this with all that mana, then I guess they're allowed. But they're gonna Quick Study instead. Okay. Hopefully this doesn't mean they just like have another Deluge in hand. That would suck. Lock Whale. Okay. So now what? I can't just try to jam a Teferi into 4 mana. That's just like not good. Okay, that's actually fine. It walks right into my other Elspeth Smite, so I am fine with that. Yeah, all right. Use it while I got it. Okay. Oh, whoops. Oh well. I kind of wanted to just jam Wandering Emperor and see if they would counterspell it, but now I just like didn't make them do anything. The trade-off to that is that now I have access to that's actually fine by me. At least now I have access to like my make disappears and stuff. So I think I'm actually going to do this. Oh, won't lie and say I expected that to just go. Get lost. Completely fine. I will not be responding to that. Sure. They have 5 mana. Is there literally any reason for me to respond to this lockdown? Yes, it can help me kill a Wandering Emperor. I think I actually am interested in getting a counterspell out of their hand. I would love to, in a perfect world, find a way to resolve this fucking Teferi next turn. Okay, so there's Make Disappear. So now the lockdown happens, they get to make a 2/2, and hopefully we just draw an untapped land so that I can jam Teferi down their fucking throat. No, a tapped land, come on! Ugh, I still think it's right to jam the first one, so that's what I'm gonna do. Oh, thank God. All right, won't mind say that didn't go better than expected. So, now what? I can make a token. I'm just gonna draw a card. Oh, why the fuck did I make a land drop first? Oops. Mistakes were made. Well, now Teferi's gonna take 3, go to 2, and they can resolve their Deluge if they want now. I can also just untap the Celestis. Okay, that's not bad for them. And they will resolve their Deluge now while the getting's good. I can get behind that. But I actually think I'm in a pretty okay spot now. So now I get to make a token that's never tapped, so I'm not worried about this. And my Lock Whale plus 2 counterspells can help get rid of this token that's going to try to get me. I guess another option was I could have simply played another Teferi, made sure that resolved while the getting was good as well, and then given myself the ability to like have this at 5, this at 3, and then just like not worry about a whole lot from there. So now that this thing's attacking, I'm gonna start by blocking, guarantee Teferi lives. Then we're gonna do this. And okay, make sure the auto tapper isn't like tripping, right? They have a total of 10 mana to play with. So this Make Disappear is gonna, oh, sick. I'll be honest, resolving with no issues was not on my list. I'm gonna just keep it a fucking stack. So now I can walk this Horned Lock Whale into a Make Disappear if I want. What is the other downside to that? I don't know that there is a reason to do that, so I'm just gonna untap. Okay, so now we're gonna draw another card. Yeah, Otawara is a pretty good draw, and I'm just going to try to attack the Wandering Emperor. If they have their other Iganjo, Quick Study, allowed. They have 6/7 mana now. Get Lost. That can catch the business end of a negate if you don't mind. I do like my Teferi. Another Quick Study. I will not be doing anything about that. I will also not be doing anything with Otawara to make sure this happens. I'm just gonna let this rock. Another Get Lost. Okay, so I at least get to use my Make Disappear now. All right, and Wandering Emperor is just gonna die, which I do like that for me. So now they get to do the Celestis thing. That is an Anchorage. Okay, a Sunfall. Do I bother responding to Sunfall? I think the answer is no. I'm just gonna let that rock. So they can make a 2/2 later if they want. But I'm honestly fine with that. I get to just untap, make another token, and not really stress. So that's just what I'm gonna do then. I'm just not even gonna fucking worry about this. I am, however, going to keep this Otawara in my hand. I'm not going to cast Teferi either. There's no reason for me to cast Horned Lock Whale yet. So yeah, I'm just going to pass. Like, they can activate this, but like, I'm not terribly concerned about that. This doesn't matter because I've got Field of Ruin. That is the Sunken Citadel. Okay, sure. Okay, that is now transformed. You got it. Understood. And if you want to activate the Anchorage, you can also do that. You are allowed. I will not say no. I will complain about that though. I'm just gonna Otawara this. I'm not gonna get cute. So I could have quick studied to put 2 loyalty on 8 in the attack and just had this at 2, but I legit think it's just better for me to do it like this. So now they're gonna go ahead and loot. It's all well and good, and I'm going to, I guess, get rid of this Anchorage while I have the mana to do so. So I have exactly 1 more island in my deck. My opponent has a lot more basics than I do. All right, we're gonna do this again. And once again, I don't believe there's a reason for me to touch anything, so I'm simply not going to. Sunfall. Okay. They have 9, 10, 11, 12 mana. We're Get Losting on the Teferi again. This time you can have it. So now let's see if they want to do anything about this. As I'm casting it. Dissipate. Yeah, you got it. Okay, so now I get a 3/3. And I'm just going to make this their problem again. All right, good times. So now we're just gonna go ahead and draw another card. Sunfall of my own. Okay. So now I get to start attacking for 4. If they have exactly a Iganjo, then I actually think I'm going to quick study to grow it. Okay. And it looks like that's not what's going to happen, so we'll just pass a turn. A Deluge. That's actually pretty freaking good for you. That's just gonna happen. You got it. That is a Mirix. Okay. That's a lot of mana. I can't do much about that. I guess the good part is, though, I can do stuff about any follow-ups from here because I've got the 2 Make Disappears, and they only have, what, 6 mana now? Okay. Spell Pierce is probably not going to be super useful right now, but it will not go on the list of things I ever complain about. So I'm just going to go ahead and make another token. If they have another Sunfall, then later on, whatever, so be it. But if it's not another Sunfall, then I guess I'm cool. A March. Okay, you got it. Yeah, I'm not doing anything about this. They can make a token if they want to. I don't think there's any reason for me to not just quick study in response. Aw. Another Deluge is pretty freaking good. And they're pretty quickly catching up to us on number of pure cards. So, not exactly a fan of them getting to do that. Okay. That's a Mirix, that's a Citadel, and I only care about the Mirix out of those options. Okay. Let's put another token into play. Remember, these can't block. And I'm just going to attack for 5 for starters. And I think I'm just going to play my Anchorage. You can make all the tokens you want. That's fine. My friends have Vigilance. I don't particularly care about these. I do, however, care quite a bit about that. And then I finally get to use my Make Disappear without sacrificing. And we have 5 mana to play with. Okay. That is a Field of Ruin. Okay. Yep. Unfortunately, can't do much about that. Kind of is what it is. And they can't really attack super profitably either, so I'm just gonna untap. Okay, let's draw a card, grow both of our friends. Another Lock Whale isn't bad. Get some attacks in for a total of 11. And if they take this, they go all the way down to 6. Okay, looks like that is what's gonna happen. I love that for us. And I suppose they can just go ahead and Field of Ruin our Anchorage, which is mostly fine. I don't know how many basics they have left. I'm out of basics. I got all 6 of mine. They're gonna Otawara my Teferi. Yeah, I can't counter that, so you got it. They're gonna take care of the Mirix, actually. Sure. I'll make a token in response. And I am verifiably out of basics. Are you? We are both out of basics. Okay. I have an excuse to use my Make Disappear. I'm gonna do that. Let's deny you a couple of cards. And I have exactly 4 mana left to play with. Okay. Temporary lockdown, your fucking mother. Okay. Annoying, but it is what it is. Okay, so now let's Field of Ruin. Let's go ahead and try to jam Teferi down their throat again. A Dissipate this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I do not have the mana to take care of that. Okay. Oh, crap. I should have done this first. Oops. I'm still gonna. Now, this way, if they want to actually use the Mirix, we're still not tapping out of any relevant mana points. Damn. Yeah, because I don't have any basics. All right, well, Teferi gets countered. All right, so I don't mind doing this and seeing if they have another counter spell. Make Disappear. Okay, sucks, happens. I go down to 19. And they're going to actively use the Celestis to try to loot. Okay, and Farewell goes away. Also of importance, the deck totals are currently what? My 23 to their 11, so that's also good to know. Let's see if they have a March of Otherworldly Light or something for this. The Wandering Emperor, 1, 2, 3, and that's all they have. Sick. So I'm gonna Spell Pierce and Make Disappear. Hooray! Non-sarcastic hooray. Really wanted that. So let's go ahead and just do this. We drew a Deserted Beach. Okay. Sunfall goes down. That is a Mirix. Okay. Luckily the Mirix can't block, so I don't really care too much about that. We definitely care some, but it could be a lot worse. There's another Sunfall down. And I'm going to try this again. What is your last card, opponent? Oh my fucking god. Okay, sucks to be me. Got it. Understood. Oh, ha, nice. All right. Well, in that case, I'm just going to do this and get rid of that. All right, we're both out of basics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I'm just going to jam this down their fucking throat, knowing that this plus this equals lethal. And this card plus this card exactly has to deal with that. There's a lockdown that does not help them. And they go to 9. Oh, sick. They have a Wandering Emperor. Will you fucking cut it out, please? All right, so we take that. You go to 9. And I think I just want to play around a counterspell. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make a samurai. Also, how much loot do you have? You have one. I'm gonna make you a 3/3, hopefully, successfully. Sweet, they packed it up. All right. So now I want Hullbreaker Horrors, Illuminators, Tidebinders, Strokes. Do I want the Denix? I know I don't want the Smites, and chances are I don't really want Sunfall or Get Lost, and that's exactly the right number of cards to get back down to 60. But do I want these is the $1 million question. And I think the answer might actually be no. Yeah, I'm gonna be happy with this like it is. Or they're just all the way off it. Nice. All right, even better. We take those. Okay, so we got to play 3 pretty fun rounds of some, I guess, medium tier ladder games because, well, as you can see, I don't really play that much arena, so I'm still in relatively low ranks, but the deck still did the thing it was supposed to do against 3 meta relevant decks, which is the thing that we're looking to find out here. Traditionally, decks like mono red can be a real pain in the ass for control decks, especially when we don't have like a super easy button like absorb to lean on in this format anymore. We actually have to do some real work navigating life totals, and as we saw in round 1 game 1, well, we ended that match at 1. So, you know, you actually have to kind of use every single part of the buffalo if you want to get your W's now. And I'm really glad about the fact that the deck can in fact do that. Like, we got to basically use just about every single card in here to kind of maximum efficiency or maximum effect to guarantee our W's, right? Like, we got to Elspeth Smite quite a few creatures. Excuse me. Spell Pierce came up pretty huge in quite a number of times. Make Disappear was really good when it was good, and as expected, it scaled off pretty hard, but that's kind of what happens when you play a card like Make Disappear. When you get to turns 9 and 10 in a control deck, sometimes you should expect it to get outpaced a little bit. Negate was just as fantastic as I thought it would be. Get Lost is amazing. Quick Study is great. Memory Deluge is better. Wandering Emperor is absolutely mandatory for a deck like this. This card is so freaking good all the time that I honestly cannot imagine myself playing a standard deck with less than 3 copies of this card. Like, she's so good. Teferi did exactly what I thought he was going to do. You know, kept us on pace, drew us some extra cards, provided some super huge threats every now and then. And as we saw in the control mirror, this motherfucker was a nightmare for them to deal with. Like, they spent so many cards trying to deal with one Teferi and still just died to damage anyway. So, like, this card is absolutely stellar. Sunfall, I don't know that 2's the right number. I might actually want more than 2 Sunfalls somewhere in the 75. There are some spots in the sideboard, for example, this Hullbreaker Horror or like the 3rd Denic, that could become extra copies of Sunfall, but I guess of note, I could want more Sunfall, and I know that I want Sunfall even more than the lower cost sweepers like Depopulate. So like, this card is just, again, incredibly good. Even when you only make a 1/1, it's still really insane. And then Hornlock Whale was also exactly as good as I was hoping for it to be, which is exactly what we want out of a card when it's relatively new and you haven't really played a million reps with it. I was hoping that this card was going to do some solid work against the aggressive decks and kind of give ourselves time to do other control things. It did exactly that. And I was hoping that the 6/6 would be relevant and come up in some games, and well, it certainly did that. So yes, it caught the ass end of a Make Disappear a couple of times, but realistically, like, if they didn't deal with this card, they were super boned. And the one time they were able to deal with it with the Wandering Emperor, even that was still completely fine, because it's like, okay, here's one more threat to deal with amongst all of these other threats I'm already making you deal with. So the fact that the Hornlock Whale is just like a big, nasty, scary 6/6, even when it's bad, that's still pretty damn good, especially when it's got Ward. The sideboard also came up pretty hard here, like the Hullbreaker Horror, the Tidebinders. We didn't get to actually use those in the control matchup, but we certainly had them and we were ready. Illuminator, just again, the 2/3 body, much more relevant than the actual card text, and I was very happy for the 2/3 body the one time we saw it. Denik was exactly as good as we were hoping he would be against the red decks. Unlicensed Hearse never came up, but it would have, you know, had a lot of potential if we were playing against Esper Mentor or something. And then the Disdainful Strokes also came in against the blue-white control deck, and again had potential to be really good there. The Elspeth Smite, super helpful, seeing as 2 of our 3 matches were against red. And our mana base, minus the fact that we know some lands can come in tapped at some awkward times, other than that, and the fact that the Field of Ruin, we actually did run out of basics once. But that game also went absurdly long. Like, our control opponent ended the game with only 5 cards left in their deck, so, you know, take that for what it's worth. But if you are looking to build, I guess, a little more optimally, it could be correct to put 1 or even 2 more basics into your deck than I have right now. 6 might not actually be enough for a standard deck. Or it could just not be enough for a deck that has 4 Field of Ruin as well. So to be determined, you know. But anyway, that's going to be our standard control deck. I really like this list, and as you can see, there is also room for exploration, improvement, whatever you want to call it, to see just how optimized something like this could be. For example, I'm playing Teferi. We don't necessarily know yet if Teferi is the best win condition for this style of deck. We are not playing a copy of something like the Celestis, which we could be playing. I instead opted for all 4 copies of Quick Study. We could be playing more than 2 Memory Deluges or less Quick Study. That could also be a thing. There's a lot of room for customization with a list like this. So if you are inclined to play Control, I think that's what I would say to start doing is check out this video. Obviously, you're at the end of it, so I'm assuming you already did that part. And then just kind of see exactly how you would fine tune something like this to adjust for either your local play environment, the arena environment, or if you simply play a shit ton more standard than I do, which is really likely, maybe you've got some valuable input that I could stand to listen to. So if that's the case, put it right below us in the comments. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's video. As always, if you like what you saw, make sure to click the like button. Let me know. Subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 2,000, and I love having new people here. And until the next time, I'll see y'all in the next one.